Yaptılar Mehmet'im. Aslanım. Mehmet'im uyan. Mehmet'im kalk ne olur. Mehmet'im uyan Allah aşkına. Mehmet. Kalk oğlum. Ay.
Give Emma that damn Emmy. Give them that damn Emmy. Hello, and welcome back to another video here at the Blurry Blossom. It's your girl Ray, and oh my god, this episode. Y'all, this episode had me clenching my cheeks, had me rolling my eyes, had me throwing up my hands inside frustration. Like, this felt like a season premiere episode, full stop. This clearly feels like this should have been the episode that kicked off season 3. A little warning, I deeply apologize if you guys hear my AC in the back. Unfortunately, it is 100 degrees where I live and I have to have AC or else I'm going to die. So if you hear the AC in the background, I've tried to edit it out as best that I can. I deeply apologize. But if you're new here, hi, my name is Ray, and I do video essays and, analysis and all that stuff. Today, we are going to be talking about episode 2 of season 3 of House of the Dragon, titled Queen's Landing. As I said before, this episode literally had me in a myriad of emotions. Before we get things started, please consider liking, subscribing, dropping a comment down below, anything to help boost my video in the algorithm. I want to try to take this stuff seriously this year, so I've made a goal. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers, hopefully, and maybe get more active. Like, I'm trying to do it more. Even though at the moment this is kind of a hobby, I would love to turn this into something full time. Because apparently a lot of you guys like my thoughts. A lot of y'all like my thoughts, and I want to keep on giving it to you. But let's get started with this review, right? So the episode kicks off with the dragon seeds arriving. I'm talking Ulf, Hugh, and Adam. They arrive at the gullet and they take down the rest of the triarchy. And Bela is the one that has to bring Jace's body to Dragonstone. And this is, I will admit, a good change from the books, because in the books, Rhaenyra is unable to recover any of the bodies of her 3 eldest sons, right? You have Luke getting swallowed up by the sea because, well, not really swallowed up by the sea, eaten by Vhagar. You get Jace shot down and drowned in the gullet during, trying to save his younger brothers, which they took out this episode, which they took out last episode. And then you had, I guess it's the spoilers, for the book. If they do, well, they probably have to do this, but then you have poor little Joffrey falling to his death and end up getting crushed. And I will admit, I liked this because it allowed Rhaenyra to have the proper funeral for her son. And oh my god, whoever made the choice to have her scream like freaking Kosem. By the way, I am a historical drama junkie. You can tell somebody was watching Magnificent Century. It's a Turkish drama. Somebody was watching Magnificent Century Kosem, because the way they had Rhaenyra just scream in anguish reminded me of the episode where Kosem is brought before the body of her eldest son Mehmet, and it just somebody give Emma that Emmy. I will make sure they get that Emmy. And it's like, you can tell that this is the thing that broke her, because She, first of all, was locked in her chambers by her son as if she was a naughty child, only for her to come out and to try to, to chastise him, to find out that he's died. Oh God, my heart, my fucking heart. And then it jumps to make it even more terrible. It then jumps to Rhaenyra arriving in, what is it? The Eyrie, with freaking Jane Eyre being a fucking bitch to her. Like, okay, I have talked about extensively that I hate what they've done with Jane in this adaptation. They've made her like this spiteful ass bitch for some strange reason, when in the book she was practically ready to throw freaking adoption papers at Rhaenyra and Daemon to adopt Rhaenyra because she was spoiled. But it just shows freaking Ryan and Sarah's racism, because why did Ryan think it was the great idea to be like, yeah, we removed Nettles and replaced her with Rhaenyra because this is a story about family, and Rhaenyra finally has gotten what she's wanted, what she thinks that she would want is a dragon, but it comes to devastating. Just say that you just didn't want to include another brown girl, and I would almost have respect for you. Because also he just didn't think it was realistic, that I guess that Jane would accept a Targaryen or whatever. Like, Jane was freaking spoiling Rhaenyra. And the fact that Rhaenyra has gone through so much already, and the fact that we probably won't get mourning, which in and of itself is important to the story. Ryan and Sarah, you'll never see in heaven. Oh, and speaking of Sarah, she wrote this episode, so trigger warning for Sarah, because when Sarah is writing and or directing an episode, it's either going to have some woman getting brutalized / traumatized, Rhaenyra being written out of context, and Daemon being unnecessarily brutal, or all of the above. And guess what? This episode happened. All of the above. So let's continue. Anyway, so Aegon and Larys escape their captivity because the Triarchy helped them escape. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care about them at the moment because the show does not make me care about Aegon, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, he's not even a part of his own war. But that's the thing, like, he could be important to the story, because technically speaking, the war is between him and Rhaenyra, but no, they've decided that Alicent and Rhaenyra's 20-year relationship that has been enemies longer than they've been friends is more important, but whatever, I guess. Anyway, they escape. We have this scene between Baela and freaking Alan. I am a Alan hater. Book Alan. This Alan kind of hasn't given me a reason to hate him yet, but I am a firm Alan hater for a myriad of reasons. I was probably spoiled reason why I hate him later on in the different types of reviews, but let's just say I do not like him. But the fact that Corlys decides to legitimize Alan, I'm not gonna lie, if I was Baela, I'll be feeling some type of way. On top of the fact that she apparently knows that him and Adam are her, are her half cousins, whatever. Because it's like, I would be pissed knowing that the grandfather that also didn't really hang out with me, didn't really care about me for the most part up until it was convenient for him, all of a sudden now has these two sons that could be a threat to my future children's inheritance. I'm just saying, Corlys does not have the best judgment when it comes to situations like this. But what do I know? What do I know? But next comes a part of the episode that really is showing the early reviews' truthfulness in how, rather than it being Rhaenyra and Daemon utilizing their sneakiness and their wits to trick, Aemond out of King's Landing and getting, slipping in and all that stuff in order to take the capital, they give all that stuff to Alicent. She meets with Luther. She meets with Luther Largent, who was basically, the commander of the City Watch, and tells him to surrender the city to Rhaenyra, when in the books, it was his undying loyalty to Daemon already that made him help secure the city, which is also how what's his name? Gwaine dies in the books. He tries to stop them and they're like, yeah, no, fuck that shit. We're hashtag Team Daemon, baby. And they like stab him in the gut. But apparently he's still living, which pisses me off because they're hinting that he might show up in season 4, and I don't like that. Like, why they keep on giving more to this character that has really nothing contribute to the storyline and taking away time from characters that should contribute to storyline. Cough, cough, the Dragon Twins. Or whatever. Anyway, after Alicent talks to Luthor, she gets like cornered by Jasper Wild. Remember how I talked about earlier about, trigger warning Sarah Hess episode? Yeah, this is one of those traumatizing scenes because he tries to freaking assault her. And I'm just like, what is it with the creators making Alicent this perpetual punching bag, right? This perpetual need to make her suffer. And I'm not saying she should not suffer / hasn't suffered enough. In my opinion, she hasn't suffered enough because of all the shit that she's done. But the fact that most of the assault trauma or the physical trauma that women fear seems to almost always happen to Alicent pisses me off to no end. And it's like, what are you guys trying to say? Are you guys trying to show? I mean, we already know that Team Green is literally the party of men who don't give two craps about women and believe their bodies are nothing more than pots to hold children in. We already know that. But are you guys trying, probably been listening to the people online talk about how sadly in this society, women, no matter what their rank, are at the mercy of men, no matter who they are, which is true. I'm not gonna lie. Elia, for example, Elia's rank as not only the wife of Prince Rhaegar and the mother of his children and a freaking princess of Dorne should have protected her from freaking what happened to her. I can't say it on here, but you guys Google what happened to poor Elia Martell and the slaughter of her children. That should, her title should have protected her, but it didn't. If anything, it probably made her brutalization even worse because Tywin loves to hold grudges and loves to literally use women as punching bags to fulfill his own weird fetishes. You can't tell me that man does not have a weird, I wouldn't say Napoleon complex, but has some weird desire of constantly punishing women, which I think kind of ties back to how he believes that women should always be humbled after what happened with his father's mistress, what he did with his father's mistress after he died. I know I'm rambling, but Google what he did. Tywin is not the man that a lot of people think he is. He is not this amazing war strategist. Also, he's a terrible war strategist. I don't know why people hype him up. But anyway, I'm sorry, I am rambling. Anyway, Maester Orwell saves Alicent, which I am grateful for. Don't get me wrong. I am grateful, obviously, that he rescued her. But again, why does it seem that Alicent is the one perpetually being at the end of this kind of abuse? Are you trying, like I said, are you trying to tell us that women, no matter what their rank is, are not safe for men in power who desire to, flex their power muscles, if you know what I mean? You then see that Daemon is having the time of his life with his people. Clearly, Daemon was meant for the streets. I'm not saying he's not, but clearly Daemon was meant for the streets, and he receives word of Jace's death and returns to Dragonstone. He obviously is the only one that can break Rhaenyra out of her torment that she is going through right now. She is so freaking broken. And when he speaks to her in High Valyrian, I'm just like, okay, I'm not a Daemira shipper. I am a Rhaenyra shipper. I believe in Rhaenyra and Laena's supremacy, but God, that was fucking hot. I am also a woman. I am not immune to this. And it's the fact that him speaking to her, not only in High Valyrian, because he knows that's the only language that can really connect them, but also tells her about his dream about Dany, even though freaking what's his name, Ryan is like, oh no, it's not Dany. Okay, dude, whatever. But he tells her about Daemon tells Rhaenyra about his visions of Dany and the dragons, and that's what, you know, snaps her out of it. So then they go to King's Landing. But before we get to their little, you know, adventures of King's Landing, let's check up in on Aemond, who kills our sassy king, Simon Strong, and his sons, but then gets injured by said son, and then begs Alice for help, who earlier is probably still feeling pissy about Daemon refusing her Harrenhal. But it's like, I don't know how he could have given Harrenhal to her. Like, there were other Strongs alive, you know? Also, she talks about how she gave him the 40,000 Rivermen. I mean, I guess if you go by what she's meaning on how she is the one that like convinced him to side with the Tullys and all that stuff and stop the problems that he had inevitably caused by letting the Blackwoods, I know somewhere when that episode dropped, freaking George R. R. Martin was backflipping because the Blackwoods are one of his favorite houses, and the fact that you like Ryan, which I know was spiteful, made the Blackwoods the evil people and the Brackens the heroes. Oh please don't piss me off. I know that probably was George R. R. Martin's 15th reason, because what do you mean? Literally, it's kind of a funny thing on how in canon, if there's like some type of problem going on in the realm, and you see that the Brackens and the Blackwoods are, you know, on different sides, 9 times out of 10, the Brackens are the ones causing the trouble. There's no denying that. Anyway, Aemond asks Alice for help, and I think she's going to use his mommy problems and the little witchcraft thing that she got going on to, you know, keep him close, if you know what I mean. So we get to King's Landing with Rhaenyra, Daemon, Hugh, and Ulf. By the way, Daemon, go back a little bit. Daemon meets Hugh and Ulf. And while Hugh, you know, is humble-ish, you know, obviously, he's a prince with Caraxes, like, yes, Hugh has Vermithor, but we all know Caraxes would kick his ass. But it's like, Ulf had the smart idea to keep on talking, and Daemon did what we wanted to do from the very beginning and backhand that man. I needed him to do it again. I literally watched that scene on repeat because I was tired of Ulf's mouth. I need somebody to backhand him. I also hope that he dies the way he dies in the books. Anyway, they arrive at King's Landing and put belt to freaking, well, more so Daemon puts belt to ass, but still you can tell that he's exactly where he wants to be when it comes to Rhaenyra. She had that man by the leash, okay? Somebody said her hub uncle daddy, somebody called him her hub uncle daddy, Newton is exactly where he wants to be. And when they get to the throne room, the green King's Garden guards at first try to resist, but then we get the gold cloaks and they arrest them, right? Which again, I feel like this scene probably would have felt better, to me at least, to me, knowing that Alicent hadn't been the one to basically warn him, that instead Daemon and Rhaenyra used their wits to do it. Also, little side thing, at the end of season 2, right, we get this little scene where one of Rhaenyra's ladies in waiting was like slipping into King's Landing and was talking to the various people there. What happened to her? Like, where is she? I forget her name. Her name escapes me at the moment. Elena? I think it's Elena. Where is she? Because she's like, we see her slip in to King's Landing, and then she talks to Dana, who is the girl that, you know, Aegon decided to have some fun with, if you know what I mean. I'm trying not to say the word. And then they like close the door behind them, and then like the scene cuts away. So I'm not sure, like I thought that's what that was hinting at, that they were setting up the plot of they were sent by Daemon and Rhaenyra to, you know, start stirring up problems, but apparently not, because they gave it to Alicent. They gave that whole plot to Alicent, which, like I said, super frustrated about that. Anyway, Rhaenyra then demands that Aegon be brought to her. She says the iconic line,
I wish I could say I was so sure about you. It's your throne, my queen.
Not yet. bring Aegon, the usurper, to me.
But then gets very upset knowing that she fled the city. So Daemon is ready to start chopping off limbs and cutting off heads when somebody tells him, hey, Lars left you a gift, and he goes in the dungeon and sees that it's freaking Otto Hightower. And I'm not gonna lie, I knew that Lars had Otto because when, what's his name? Because Lars only became, no, he didn't become Hand the King. That was Kristen. Kristen became Hand the King. But Lars, I think, became like his Master of Whispers or something like that. But when Kristen was all like, you know, got dethroned basically and got sent off to fight in the Riverlands, and Aemond became Prince Regent, he then, I think, like fires Kristen or something, and Lars thinks that he's going to be the one to become the next Hand the King. And he's like, what? No, of course not. Get my grandfather to come. So it made perfect sense that Lars would have him held hostage. I'm not surprised he kept him held hostage in the Red Keep of all places. Like, I saw rumors that Otto had gotten captive, like got held captive by some people in the Crownlands. As you know, like for example, the Beesburys, for like what he did to Lionel Beesbury. But it's like, no, it was Lars. It makes sense though. But the fact that he had a contingency, that's something that kills me. Lars had a freaking contingency for if/when Daemon and Rhaenyra came to the Red Keep. And I'm like, okay, nice thinking 12 steps ahead, buddy. So then the thing that pissed me off the most, and what I've seen people online be like, is that they're asking, was Otto's beheading of, you know, by Rhaenyra, because Rhaenyra is the one that beheads him, with Dark Sister, by the way. Like, I love that she did that. I love that Daemon gave her Dark Sister. But the thing that pissed me off was that Otto was like, if your father could see you now, he would weep, or he would be so upset. Bitch, you are the cause of this whole thing. And then to make it even crazier, after she beheads Otto, right? And Alicent is revealed and they arrive to see her, like to see Otto's body. Alicent has the gall, the audacity to be upset, to be shocked, to look offended. And then it doesn't help even worse that Olivia, Alicent's actress, believes that is telling people in interviews that inside Alicent's mind, she feels as if Rhaenyra has betrayed her. And I'm like, bitch, are you stupid? Are you stupid? Because did we forget he was plotting to usurp Rhaenyra all the back when she was 14? Are we forgetting that? Are we forgetting that not only did he plot to usurp her all the way since she was 14, before she married, before she had her children with Harwin, before Daemon even began grooming her, he was plotting to usurp her. And then when he gets rightfully called out on spying on Rhaenyra and gets sent away and then gets brought back years later and then continues to plot and is one of the main orchestrators of the usurpation of Rhaenyra, you have the gall, the audacity to be offended? Are you stupid? How dumb can you be? Because like I said, I understand why a lot of the early reviews are talking about how when it comes to Alicent, she is a black hole in this season, and how people seem to lose their common sense whenever she's around, which ties to how Ryan and Sarah decided to write her. Like I said, trigger warning whenever Sarah is the writer of an episode, because they took away all of Alicent's agency, all of Alicent's drive. They took away all of that to whatever the fuck this is, whatever the hell this thing is. And it annoys me to no end, because then you have people writing and making freaking content videos and freaking think pieces being like, oh, should have Rhaenyra spared Otto? She'd have given him a trial? No! She should not have given him. He's lucky that it was Rhaenyra that decided to behead him rather than Daemon. Because if it was Daemon would have carved him up in little bitty pieces. But to see that Sarah is the writer for the next episode, I do not like it. I do not like it, because whenever Sarah writes an episode, somebody's getting traumatized. There's going to be, like I said, an abuse. Somebody's going to be miscategorized. Like, it's going to be insane. But the fact that also that only people have seen up into the first 4 episodes, and we have 8 episodes this season, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. Overall, like I said, this episode literally had me in a myriad of emotions, and I would love to hear what you guys thought of it. Thank you guys for, sitting here and listening to my vents and my react to this review. But if you guys want to see me actually react to it, please consider going to my second channel. The link is in the bio down below, but here it is here it is also on the screen. There's no way anybody with common sense would still be friends with this person unless they're in love. That is the only way I can understand this. They have to, like, at this point, I like, that is the only way I can understand Rhaenyra holding on to this, because even in interviews, Emma says that for them, when it comes to Rhaenyra, she views Alicent as her judge. Like, she wants to prove to Alicent that she was wrong. And I'm like, but why though? Why? Why, bitch? This woman has caused you nothing but suffering for the last 20 plus years. When I tell you my heart just broke, because it's like those boys literally only had out of their 15 years of life, because Jace in the show at least died when he was 15, or just barely 15. In their 15 years of life, they had only known peace for less than 5, because 10 years of it they spent being bullied by Alicent. And I'm just like, and she lost them. Like, and it also pisses, like, remember I rant about this all the time on Twitter on how, like, Rhaenyra canonically most likely was a queer character, right? She is a queer character in this. Same thing as Daemon. Like, they're both confirmed to be queer, bisexual in this, like, in both mediums, right? The problem is that rather than putting her with her canonical love interest, i.e. Lena, it's pissing me off that they're just queer baiting us with Alicent at this point. And it gets worse. I've read the reviews. I've read the reviews for season 3. It gets worse. They literally say Alicent's character is a black hole to all the other characters. By the time this gets posted, I should have the reaction already up on Blurred Flicks and Chill. If not, expect it within the next 24 hours. But please go ahead and subscribe here and there. Do a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.